Hello, dear listener. I have something truly special to share. It's an exclusive invitation to join me in Mexico for an intimate and luxurious 3-day retreat along the beautiful Pacific coast of Zihuatanejo, taking place the weekend of the spring equinox, March 18th through the 20th. There's also an optional day to stay through the 21st for some special ceremonies that are happening in the area for the equinox. But the retreat itself is the 18th through the 20th, really an opportunity not to be missed. And I'm offering one lucky listener a discounted ticket on this weekend that I've just been loving into being actually for several years now as COVID and, everything. But when we conceived of building this place, our home down here, it's really what we envisioned, bringing people down here for retreats, for trainings, because we felt and we knew that this space was special. And as people keep coming down and we keep getting the feedback, how magical it is, we want to share it in a really intentional way. Be working with the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, water, the metaphors of the season. We'll set sight on a new vision for our mothering journey and creating a deeper connection to self and Mother Nature. So to win a discounted ticket, rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts. Screenshot it and DM it to me on Instagram at Dr. Gertrude Lyons. And remember, the most important thing to mother is yourself. Give yourself permission to take a retreat this year. And besides, who said mothers can't go on a spring break? I'll see you there.
This is a Soulfire production. Welcome to Mother. No, it's Mother. Welcome to Mother, the show where we can explore our inner mothers to actualize our greatest selves. Through interviews with incredible guests, live coaching sessions, and my own experiences, we're going to dive deep into embracing feminine values and reparenting ourselves. So be prepared to show up, hold space, and be mothered in a way you never have before, but have always needed. It's time we rewrite the Mother Code.
Well, hello and welcome to Mother Podcast, Rewriting the Mother Code with Dr. Gertrude Lyons. And I have an especially special guest on with me today, and his name happens to be Rich Lyons. Welcome, Rich Lyons.
Well, thank you, Gertrude. I am pleased to be invited back. I thought I was basically not going to be invited back, so it's good to be back on your podcast.
Yeah, I think it was really maybe around this time a year ago. But I was excited. It's February, some consider February the month of love with Valentine's Day and all that business.
Valentine's Day, yeah, for sure.
It's definitely appropriate for us to come together and be together and share. And we had an event last night that you and I were guests at. Yep. It was the Right Foundation for the Realization of Human Potential fundraiser. And I would like to talk about that a little bit because I think it exemplifies, it was an hour-long event. We had a speaking part at the end, but in that part that we got to reflect on our relationship, on ourselves individually and our relationship, and how our work at the Right Foundation has empowered us as individuals and as a couple, in addition to making a very big announcement, which I'd also like to talk about, because I think it is all related to our couple and how having vision, working on a relationship, the hard work that it does take, it has gotten us to this point today where, we were featured, highlighted at this event, a big part because of the work we've done together. So I thought I'd kind of open it up for us to riff on that a little bit, just kind of talk about what that event meant to us and how it was a definitely important event for us.
I think we've come a long way for sure, in terms of our relationship, in terms of us partnering, and I think the event represents that in a big way. I think it was the best. And when we've gotten feedback on this from people, but I think it was the best for us being together as a couple and for us representing our couple.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, everything from the literal delivery of it, I think was a turning point, because we've done workshops together, we've done
Sure.
webinars together. But I think there was something particular about this, even though it was probably 7 minutes of airtime, total 7-8 minutes. There was a way we came together. I know for me personally, I've been doing a lot of work on my presence and, really showing up. And I think we showed up as equal partners, but also honoring our differences, and really being there in a way that I think reflected the work we've done along the way as people and as a couple, just in the literal delivery of it.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
No, I think for us to be there as two individuals, but also there as a couple. So kind of honoring our differences and our uniqueness and our difference in, masculine and feminine, our differences in, how we deliver our personalities, but also, we were there with our unique gifts, but I think we were there as a couple as well, which I think is an important distinction.
Yeah. No, and I, not to go too much into this aspect, because I think there's more background we can give. But just, we got some coaching. I brought my voice coach in to, we did a run through of it with him, and just to have him reflect and say, in his listening to it, your energy and more assertive energy and how you were delivering versus mine, maybe more feminine, lower key energy, they were feeling pretty distant. And I just thought it was really cool to find ways we didn't have to completely change. One wasn't better than the other, but we could bridge them. Right. And I think there's something really metaphoric about that for our couple. Like, I really worked on, when I ended my piece, to up level so that you could catch the ball and take it from there. And so one, doing things together and getting coaching, we would have been fine without it. But, knowing that coaching helps you do it better, and you're going to learn something and discover. And I thought the things we discovered just in that was really cool.
Yeah, no, I think in terms of taking it to the next level, we practice, but also getting some outside feedback from professionals and professional coaches is very important. And I think it made a difference for sure. And it showed that we care, right? Mm-hmm. That we cared to invest in coaching because we wanted it to be very good.
Yeah. And I've been sharing with my listeners that one of my themes or words for the year is flow, and embracing flow. And what does it mean to flow? And I think this, is a perfect example of that. And it's something we're going to look at it a few different ways, but this is one example. Like, how do you embrace flow in a relationship, and how consciousness, and I think this was, somewhat of a small example, but definitely allows us to kind of expand on that topic. What does it mean to be in flow in a relationship? And well, first of all, what's your take on that? And then maybe we can back up a little bit.
I think we probably have to back up a little bit and look at what it means to not be in flow, or
right.
Or look at where we started and kind of, come forward. Because I think, we started, maybe with what I would say a more traditional marriage, right? And I don't think either of us had a model of being in flow in a relationship, not from our parents' relationships for sure. And even what that meant and what it meant to be partners. I mean, that was in our wedding vows, to be partners and best friends. But I don't think we knew what that meant, right? We had an old model view of partners, meaning I was going to make the money and you were going to be the mom. I mean, I don't mean to oversimplify it, and that's not totally true either, because you did work, but you know what I mean? We were falling into a pattern of a, more, male dominated family, right? Even though we had two daughters, so very ironic. And I think obviously we changed over time, and some of that growing, we faced challenges that we can talk about. But some of that growing was because we got coaching, and because we wanted to be better, and we wanted to learn and grow. And we knew there was something that was missing,
Right. Yeah. And it's really interesting now to look back, we'll be coming up in June. We'll be 32 years married, which,
Woo!
oh, that just always throws me like, how can we be that old? But we are, and having those inklings back then that, we had no idea what was in store for us, but, kind of starting with me having an inkling that when, my boss at the time gave us that unsolicited advice to do premarital coaching. We, on the one hand, kind of thought that was crazy and really out there, but
I for sure thought it was
you
crazy out there.
Yes.
More than you did. I for sure did.
Right. Well, I did, but then I also thought, wow, we really don't have role models for how to be in relationship. We even could identify then that there was alcoholism and divorce, in our families and lack of partnership. So I can also look back now and say quite transparently, like, you were a great catch. I didn't want to lose you. So, even though I certainly wasn't coming from some overly enlightened perspective of why I thought this would be a good idea, it was definitely from, a bit of a scarcity standpoint, but at the
Sure.
same time, recognizing that if I was going to keep you and hang on, we were going to have to work on it. And, that once you and I, it's something I've loved about us, whether it's you or me kind of initiating us into something, we're both very open-minded once we're there. We've had a lot of experiences once we get there that we're very aligned. And I felt like that was definitely one of them.
Yeah, I don't think I'm always open-minded to the suggestion.
No.
I mean, I am a Taurus, so I tend to be a little stubborn and bullheaded.
Right.
But I think once I'm there, I'm open-minded and willing to hear the truth. But, I think I wasn't open to the suggestion at first. And I think, I always tell people that Gertrude's the best salesperson in our family because she's able to sell me on things like this and, get me to do things. But, to what you were saying, I think we fell in love with different aspects of each other. Like
Right.
I fell in love with your aliveness. I fell in love with how you were willing to express, how you were willing to have fun. And so I thought by marrying that, then I would have it. But I don't think, have the vision, at least initially, that meant I was going to have to change myself and basically become that. I couldn't just rely on you to have it. I had to become more alive. I had to become more emotional. I had to do a lot of social and emotional intelligence, education and learning and work through limiting beliefs to become a different model of man than I was taught. Right. And I think at the same time, you had to do the same to become a more powerful feminine leader. And I think we're seeing that come together and we're seeing even more to come in the future. But I think as we're talking about flow and coming together, I think we're more honoring of each other's gifts and sometimes trading gifts. Like I'm doing more being and you're doing more doing, which was the opposite of how our relationship started.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I love what you're saying. And, I'm thinking about like what I fell in love with, and that's something we've definitely learned about in relationship, that there's always kind of two sides to what you're falling in love with. And I think some of it is very tender and dear. But like, I fell in love with your solidity. I fell in love with your this just powerful masculine presence that you have. And and your attractiveness. So I'm not going to deny that, that part of it, but your surety, your, willingness to just do hard things and focus and things like that. And, I can love those parts about you, but like you said, they're also kind of unowned parts of myself, things
Right.
I kind of hired you or, married you to hold for me. And it has become not necessary from a standpoint, but necessary for my full being, for me to be the most me I can be, is to reclaim my masculine and understand that I'm doing that in service of my feminine. And so I can, bring more of the feminine out into the world, but I can't expect you to hold it all and be all of that. And I like it, when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. So, loving those parts of you, but also not being dependent on them, I guess, is something I've definitely learned.
No, for sure. And I think, we went through challenges. It's not like that kind of change is easy. I mean, I think we faced challenges at different points and, in our relationship, and even times where we were competitive with each other and we wouldn't talk about it. I mean, speaking of, mothering and kind of the mothering journey, I mean, that was a time where, we definitely felt breakdown. It's a big change. And even though we were pretty conscious, at least we thought we were, in terms of conception and inviting a child into our life, and we love our life and we're going to keep our life, it's still, we regressed and then even competed. Like I remember, unconsciously and sometimes consciously, right? We were competing to who was going to be the best parent, and I think we forgot, in that regression about our couple. We tried to have dates, we tried to do things, but I think that's where coaching was so important to us, just to see, like, you guys are competing, you're not supporting each other. And I think, those kind of challenges, having coaching and having an outside perspective really served us.
Hi, I'm so excited to share with you my 2024 Spring Equinox Self-Mothering Retreat that's happening this March 2024. And I would love for you not only to consider it, but to attend. But in considering it, hey, just knowing that you would be leaving cold weather, if that's the space that you're in, and coming down to just magnificently beautiful, warm, nourishing place of Zihuatanejo, Mexico. Zihuatanejo meaning land of the goddess women, and coming to really take time for yourself. Okay. And that I am learning more and more isn't just a nice thing to do or something extravagant or something selfish. It's essential. And I really want you to take it seriously, to consider, just think about what would it take for me to go. It's a 5.5-day retreat, getting from where you are, getting there, landing there, and then being in a space that is all about you. It's all about nourishing you. It's all about tuning into you, using everything around us, the nature, the food, the beautiful people, the rituals, ceremonies. I bring it, we really bring it. And we go deeper and deeper as the days go on, and we release, we let go, we bring in what is nourishing, what is empowering, what is that space of just really divine feminine energy. And we do it in the community of women. It's not for everyone. I will be honest, if that idea of leaving and not making it work, or it's just too hard, not for you. If the idea of, spending that amount of time inwardly focused and going to that level of self-awareness doesn't sound like something you're willing to do or put the time and energy into, then it's not for you. And it's good to know that, right? So this is for people who are serious about what it means to mother themselves, what it means to take time for ourselves, and that gift and what that gift can bring to us. It was originally right after my fall retreat. It filled right up. But now some people, it turns out, are not able to come. So I do have a handful of openings. And if you're listening to this and you're willing to take that step, please reach out to me. We can do a discovery call, or you can put a deposit down. I would love that. And you can do that by going to my website, www.drgertrudelyons, DrGertrudelyons.com. Go to events, and there you go. It'll all be there. There's a beautiful page there for you to explore. I look forward to hearing from you and then seeing you on my spring retreat.
Yeah, no, it was, and as I've done work, in this mothering journey and my doctorate and stuff, I felt like, we worked on some of those in the beginning, where I felt like you were trying to be the better parent, and it was disempowering to me. And and it helped us get through it. But then, later when you can have some distance and perspective, we've gone back to it and had more of the feelings. And I think that's something I've really valued about, having coaching, and all of our coaching in that realm came from doing work at the right foundation, right? On our couple, the couples program and the parenting program, because this stuff's hard, being a parent's hard. Being a parent and working, you were also parenting a business, you were fathering a new business. I was decided to go back to work, at a point, and those challenges and navigating them, and, but, discovering that it was for me, particularly out of my insecurity as a mom, that I was competing. I was, looking to try and be good at something, or it's good at some aspect of it. And, you had your own reasons for it, but I felt like there were some rough seas with all of that, and having the opportunity, later to go back and revisit those spaces and, get clear and current again, and see if where we're still competing, it doesn't, not like it goes away, where we learn the lesson once and it's done. But we keep learning, from it and growing.
Well, we keep working on our communication, which is interesting, because when your boss, Stan, kind of recommended that we go do couples, coaching, it was to work on our communication. And I think we continue to work on our communication, and I guess more specifically, to be able to say, ouch, to be able to tell each other, when we're hurt, to be able to talk about, when we get hurt, instead of going to anger, but looking at the fear that comes up, looking at the hurt. And I think parenting and being a new parent for the first time throws you into all of that. It's like, I watch you with this little baby, and I'm, you never want to admit this as a father, but it's kind of like, I'm jealous. Like, where's my position? I'm kind of on the outside now. Yeah. And so then competition, and we weren't really talking about it. So I think, as you were saying, focusing on our growth work, and we spent time as a married couple before we decided to have children. And I think the right foundation, really had us focus on ourselves first. If if we go back, we both worked on ourselves as individuals before we then decided to come together as a couple, and then decided to be parents.
Yeah. No, I'm so grateful that we had that space and time, and that we took it, to do that, because I for us personally can't imagine having gotten married and then having a child or baby like right immediately. Oh gosh.
No, my mom was 21 when she had me, and I couldn't even imagine that. Like, it seems impossible for me to imagine that, given my maturity level at 21.
Yeah, no, 100%. And, we're at a new stage of parenting. Like, literally, I was just thinking about it when we recorded a year ago or so. Since then, we've had a daughter. Our youngest daughter graduate from college and move to San Francisco, and our other daughter get engaged and planning a wedding. So some pretty big, kind of in your face, like you are no longer parents of young children. You're now parents of adults. And, we're working on establishing that, and noticing that even though they're adults, we still are challenged to stay connected and in relationship when we're around them.
Sure. No, it's funny, using the word flow and discussing, your relationship flow, because, we do notice when our adult children, come back and visit, we love being with them and we love seeing them. But some of our, disciplines and some of the foundational, like our sharing with each other every day and our talks and other things, they kind of break down. And we need to look at, okay, how can we be more intentional, in terms of the flow of our relationship, when our environment changes, right? When we travel, when we go on vacation, when we're with other people,
Yeah.
because it's a little easier, I guess, when it's just the two of us and we're kind of in our routine.
Yeah.
But how do we really ebb and flow, through all of life's events, right? And including, our children becoming adults and negotiating those relationships with adult children.
Yeah. No, and I also want to name, because yes, that's been something big that we've been working on, but I think have had more intention around it this year. And we've actually been doing better planning ahead when these times are happening and setting up even more systems to give us, at least a better chance of us not just drifting off and staying connected. And I think recently it brought us back to advice we got for our wedding day. Remember? And I think we were telling Morgan and Mitch this, our daughter and soon to be son-in-law, on your wedding day, how important it is to stay together, right? And visit people and be with people, but do it together. And, I don't think until we were telling her, did we realize like, wow, that was advice, not just for a wedding day, but for a marriage, right? I mean, not like you're going to be glued at the hip, not like you shouldn't have your own time with friends and alone time, but just to be aware that, you're going to get pulled in a lot of directions and stay conscious of staying together. So the whole night, AKA your lifetime, doesn't go by, your children, and you've been so separate, you didn't even have the same experience together.
Yep.
And I think that really hit home for us when we realized that.
Well, I think, you mentioned consciousness. I think, really choosing that matters, and doesn't mean you're always together, but are you thinking about each other? Are you holding each other in consciousness? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy, and it doesn't mean you always will. And having some, empathy, sympathy, forgiveness, when you break down, because basically you will break down. So if you're thinking you're not going to break down, that's when the real problems happen, because then you extend how long you're in breakdown for.
Right.
So being aware and conscious, like we're going to break down, it's going to happen. That's okay. But can we recognize it early? And that's why we do some of the tracking that we do. That's why we look at some of the metrics. That's why we track how many dates we have. That's why we track, sharing with each other on a daily basis. That's why all those things are important, because then we can identify when we're in breakdown more quickly, so we can get out of it, because we're always going to break down. We're always in breakdown, right? So.
No, I love that you brought that up, because bringing up the metrics and how we track, that's you bringing the masculine, right? The systems that can then support us being together and being in relationship. And we've been working at those for a while. I mean, always some level through our relationship, but really even more so probably in the last few years. And then at the beginning of this year, we declared that for a goal or a vision for ourselves for this year is great. We have all these structures and we do them, but let's now start, speaking of flow, use them to flow even more, right? To flow more spontaneously, to flow fun, to say the unsayable, and and take it new places for us. And we've been dipping our toe in the water with that, I would say. But when we're on again next year, we can report how it goes for us. But
I think we're adding a more qualitative component to all of it, because you can do all the things. It's kind of like mailing it in. Like you can have a date, you can track all these things. We can work out together, we can do our shares, but the quality could suck, right? So like, are we having fun? Are we being spontaneous? Are we being alive? Are we having our feelings and expressing those, which makes a difference. So we're kind of trying to add the aliveness factor in, and a lot more play and fun.
No, I agree. Well, I love talking about this with you and sharing it. And I always trust that, the listeners are going to get value. And I always love to hear and open up hearing from them and invite that, we're down here in Mexico now. This is a place that we have built together, and we've done it very intentionally and consciously. And something I know about our couple from the planning our wedding, all the way through, is we do projects well together. It's a place we come together, and I
absolutely.
we bring our different skills and talents. And when we decided to build this place, I mean, you had the big vision, of expanding it and having a big meditation space and, more space than I felt comfortable with. But, you had this vision for what you wanted, basically. And that's been big work along the way. And,
For bringing people here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then expanding it to like, okay, we can bring people into this space and, started dreaming and envisioning, for me, like women and mothering retreats and you, with business consulting and entrepreneur, CEO trainings down here, but in this beautiful space, conscious, intentional space. And then eventually maybe even, trainings that we do together, which I think is a little twinkle in our eye.
Couples trainings, absolutely.
So all that being said, you've had some business consulting trainings down here. And now I am going to be leading a retreat down here in Mexico on March 18th to the 20th. So that is the spring equinox. It's just a beautiful time of year with spring and the elements and, we've had people down here more lately that COVID is lifting some, and everyone who comes here talks about how magical it is. And they say, like, no matter how much you told us it was and try to describe it, they're blown away there's just really is something about this place. I've described it as medicine, in just that really positive way. So that is happening. And you, listener, can win a discounted ticket, so to speak, to that training if you rate and review my show on Apple Podcasts. And when you do that, screenshot it and DM it to me, direct message it to me on Instagram at Dr. Gertrude Lyons. Always remembering the most important thing to mother is yourself. So give yourself permission to think about this, to dream about coming down here and spending a whole weekend in this place that we've given birth to, that we consciously conceived and have now given birth to. Isn't it so cool? Like, this is something we've been dreaming about and thinking about. Now it's actually happening.
No, it's exciting to have people be able to come down and share. It's a very conscious place, a conscious community. I mean, you have the ocean, we see whales, we see dolphins. I think it gets into your blood. Like, yeah. I promise you'll feel more relaxed, more open, and you'll remember what's important. And I think that's the beauty of getting away, and it's important for all of us to have that time to kind of get away and get out of our daily routine so we can remember what's important and vision into our future for all of us.
Yeah. I'm going to say one more thing and then we're going to close. Another reminder to rate, review, subscribe to my podcast if you haven't already. And also, please sign up for my newsletter. I'm so excited about this. This has just been happening for the last couple of months. There's a link in the show notes for the show. You'll receive exclusive content and updates about all of my upcoming events. And as always, listen to Mother every other Monday, wherever you listen to podcasts. So in closing, Rich, honey, I just want to say out loud, and I'm so proud of and so grateful for you. And I'm proud of our relationship, but I'm so grateful for you to have a partner that's committed and dedicated to his growth and development. And that's been, pretty extensive and difficult at times, but you have just stayed the course and stayed in there. And I can't imagine, I do actually shudder to imagine our lives without having, worked on ourselves. And I just want to say how hugely grateful I am to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And thank you. And, thanks for leading the way. So I appreciate that. And I love our partnership and love you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for choosing yourself and taking the time to listen to this podcast. As always, please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother. Subscribe to Mother. It helps other people who need this message, AKA all women. Well, actually, everybody, men included. I'm honored to have you on this journey in mothering yourself. Remember, change is uncomfortable, but it's beautiful, and it starts with us. And if you can't wait until next week's episode, follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn at Dr. Gertrude Lyons or at my website, drgertrudelyons.com. I'll see you next time.